enemies of your home.
What?
Enemies of your home. I know I look a little bit annoyed and a little bit disgusted, and that's because I am. Who likes enemies? I only like friends.
Yes.
Are you my friend today?
Totally. Every day I'm your friend. Even though you may think I'm your enemy, every day I'm your friend.
I don't know.
Friend or foe?
And yet there are enemies of our home, and we want to make sure that we mitigate or escort out or never invite in the enemies. And so we're going to talk about that on today's Inside Track on Real Estate with the Decker team. And I'm Yetta Decker.
And I'm Ken Decker. And we just love doing this because we connect with our clients and with you. And if you're a client as well as you, that's great, eh? One of the reasons we love doing these shows is we want to give back. We like helping, we like connecting. And the other way we connect, it's kind of fun. I'm going to slide something in here, Yetta, is on the 24th, the Decker Team Chili and Pie Cook-Off. Now, this is for people that are our clients or have referred us clients. And we get together and we're going to share some homemade chili. And we got prizes for the best chilies and the best pie. There's going to be lots of fun.
Right. And it's March 24th. Because you may be watching this on YouTube along with any of the other hundreds of archive shows that we have. I guess we should
say it's March 24th, 2018.
Exactly. Because if you're listening on CHRI 99.1 FM on March 9th today, then perfect March 24th. We don't have to say the month or the year if it's 2018 that you're listening. And yet, if this is something you're watching a replay of that's now out there on YouTube on the Decker Team channel, then you might want to know that it's the 24th of March. And so
that's a great segue, actually, because you said if you're watching a replay on the YouTube channel, the Decker Team YouTube channel, that's a segue into saying if you'd like to watch other shows, if you're listening to this live on CHRI and you would like to watch other previous shows, then go to our YouTube channel.
That is perfect. So I have no idea where I was going, and I'm all good with that.
We're going to the 7 enemies of your home. And number 1, the biggest, major, most common problem
is moisture. Moisture, either too much or not enough. Too much moisture and your wood swells and you get rot on your windows and it's
mold on the windows.
Well, not on the windows, mold on the walls, in the walls, nasty.
So, anything over 60% humidity can have your mold grow. Now that could be in your basement. You know, you might say, well, hey, I've got my thermostat set at 45% humidity or whatever, but there may be a space in the basement where it's more moist or behind a couch that's up against a wall because there's no air movement.
Right.
And that's cold wall that could condense moisture. It could become more dense, more moisture back there. And then suddenly you got mold behind your couch when you pull it out.
Right, which would be awful. And I've actually seen that in houses.
Seen that in my house.
I know.
I don't know about you if you've seen it, but we've seen it. And so it's common. And if you see it, we have a show on how to clean up mold. Actually, if you go back and look at it, that may help you. Other places that we get too much moisture would be water leaks. Could be in your roof flashing. Could be in your shingles. Could be a broken pipe. What else? Where else would we get water from?
Sump pump. Watch for the sump pump.
Even some city properties have sump pumps.
They do.
Yeah.
Country and city. And so or even sewer backup. That's really nasty.
That's a nasty one.
And that happens. And so making sure your insurance is adequate to help this enemy not overtake not only your house, your finances.
Yes.
Is a really, really good idea.
Now, if you live in a floodplain, an area where the city or the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority has said, this is a flood area and your house is in that, you may not be able to get flood insurance for your house, which you're just going to have to live with. Now, sewer backup, you can get insurance for it. And one of the best pieces of insurance I can recommend. It's a little bit costly, and that's get a check valve installed. Get a backup prevention valve put into the sewer line so that when the city, if it floods, if we get too much rain and everything floods, it can back up into basements. But if you got a check valve, then it'll back up into your neighbor's basement, not yours.
I'm not sure if that's a nice thing to tell you or not. At least keeping it away from your house is, and then tell your neighbors.
Tell
If
your
they're
neighbor
not
to get
watching
one
the
too.
show right now, tell everybody you know to get a check valve put on their sewer so that it doesn't back up into their basement. And then we're all safe. I'm not sure what happens with it all if everybody's got a check valve.
It comes up the drain manhole covers.
The manhole covers. That's probably better. Well, that is better, I think.
Than filling your basement.
Yeah, then filling your basement. So get a check valve and tell everybody you know, not only to watch this show, but just to go get a check valve. Do both, because it will help them handle some of those enemies of the home.
Yes. Now, the second biggest enemy of a home is fire. And you know what happens when you have a fire? They come with water,
Yeah.
which is the first most biggest enemy to your home. And they spray the inside of your home with water.
Right.
So even if it's a small fire, usually you got smoke damage, you got water damage. So fire is a big deal. So a couple things to help prevent that enemy
Right.
is if you've got a wood burning appliance, whether that be an airtight wood stove, a wood fireplace, a pellet stove,
Right.
get them checked regularly, wet certified.
Just make sure they're functioning as they are to current code. That's the one of the places that I actually care about current code.
Yes.
In many things, you don't, even when you're selling your home, you don't have to bring them to current code. They're fine with the condition they were in, what code was the day it was built. If it was code at the time, building code was 2x4 construction, and now code is 2x6 construction, there's no value in adding 2 inches of wood to your framing and tearing apart the inside of your house or the outside. It's not necessary to bring a home to code that was already previously built. When it comes to a safety issue, especially such as something like fire and wet certification.
Yeah, I'm giggling inside because you said it again, wet certification. And so people are thinking, oh, I got to make sure that my fireplace doesn't get wet. But WETT is W-E-T-T, and it stands for Wood Energy Transfer Technician. And they study the actual chimney and the device to make sure it's certified that it's not going to cause a fire.
Right. And it has changed a lot. You would think, well, what caused a fire 50 years ago would cause a fire today.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's called wood burning.
It's called wood burning, and so that's true. And yet what they've discovered over the years and why the code has changed so much is at one point you only needed, I don't remember how many inches it was, but we'll say 10 inches of hearth before you had wood floor or something that was more combustible than ceramic or stone or
Yes.
something.
And now it's 16 inches.
Right. And
Because
so
I think sparks are getting stronger. They can fly further now than they could in the past.
I don't think that's it.
And it's really tricky because different wood stoves have different clearances. And you
Right.
need the tag on the back of them that says how far from the drywall, how far from combustible material. And sometimes you can put up a heat shield. And there's all kinds of things that can be done to protect your home from fire, which is really, really important.
Right. So really what's happened is the reason they changed the code is because there's been fires and too many fires caused by what was the old code.
Yeah, chimney fires and things
Right.
like that.
So that's one of those areas that actually you do want to take seriously. What a lot of people are doing is ripping out their wood burning appliances and putting in gas, whether it's propane gas or natural gas.
That's so unromantic, though, isn't it? We have a gas fireplace. It's just not as romantic as a wood crackling fire.
It's
just not.
It's not, and it doesn't smell the same.
doesn't.
So the neat thing is there's something for everyone. So if you want the convenience of a gas fireplace, you can put that insert in, and that pretty much always worked when there was a wood burning fireplace there. Or if you really, really want the wood still, absolutely bring it up to today's code. And most insurance companies
Require it.
require it. And yet I know many, when we go to sell the home, that somebody's been living in the home long enough and the insurance company hasn't been updating the requirement of the current homeowner. And so therefore, it actually isn't wet certifiable, nor is it to today's code from a safety perspective. And so that is actually one of those areas that becomes contentious often when we're helping somebody buy a home that has a wood burning fireplace.
Yeah. Now, the second area of fire, which is kind of surprising, is electrical fires.
Right.
They're huge. So it might be wise to do an ESA certificate where they come in with an electrician, they examine, and then they fix whatever's wrong, and then they certify that it's safe.
Right.
And the reason you like that is because many times homeowners who maybe don't know what they're doing go to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever, a hardware store, buy some electrical cables and some boxes, and they go out and they think they're an electrician because they can hook two wires together, but not necessarily are doing it to code or doing it safely. And so an ESA will make sure that your home's safe. The third most common
I'm going to,
fire thing, what do you think it is?
well, I know we're going to get there in a minute.
Oh, okay.
And just like Ken caught me on the whole wet thing,
Yeah,
the ESA,
Oh.
what does that stand for?
Electrical Safety Authority.
Because we get caught up in using our acronyms, and the little
Yes.
dinger in my head was going, another acronym, another one, another one. And we do it without even knowing, because after almost, 30 years in the industry and 25 for you, there's so many things that sound like English to us, and actually they're not English.
No.
They're acronyms, they're short forms, some of them are even made up words because we're both quite creative.
Okay, so the next one is not an acronym.
I know.
It's candles. Candles burn more houses down than it's unbelievable. And it's unattended candles. So you light a candle in a room and you leave the room. Or you leave the house or whatever. Or you fall asleep. You set them for romance at night, and then you fall asleep, and then you wake up because your smoke detectors are going off because you change them regularly. Smoke detectors have about a 10-year lifespan. So if you look up at your smoke detector and it's kind of yellow color instead of that nice creamy white color, it's time to turf that baby. So get on your little footstool ladder and remove it and replace it. So buy the replacement before you remove it, though.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
It's a great
You can
idea.
take it down to see if it's connected, whether it's interconnected, whether it's hardwired or it's battery operated. So you make sure you buy the right one, but leave it in place, put it back until you buy the one and replace them. And every 10 years do that. Change the batteries every year.
Right. Well, test it. Right? You can test it. And yet, if you just do it routinely with fresh, good quality, high quality batteries, they, generally speaking, are really good for at least a year.
Yes. Now, the next one. Harms your home, doesn't harm your house. Do you get that? It doesn't harm the physical structure of your house, but it'll wreck your home in a hurry. And that's CO2. And CO2 is an off-gassing. It's a combustion gas. It comes, carbon monoxide comes off of, is it CO2 or CO? I think it's CO2. That's another acronym. A couple letters and a number. And it's a silent killer. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. It just makes you sleepy, and then it will kill you. So if you've got any burning device, if you've got electric heat, you don't have to worry about this. But if you've got a gas fireplace, a gas stove, gas furnace, oil furnace, anything, propane furnace, anything that burns, combusts things, a wood stove, a CO2 detector is important. You need them on every level.
And ideally, you want them closer to the ground than at the ceiling.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because apparently it's a little heavier than oxygen, and it goes down. And it works its way up. So it fills like the basement and starts working its way up. So if you have people that are sleeping in the basement, absolutely at the floor level as well as the ceiling level. Just the plug-in ones are fine, as long as they'll wake you up.
And how often should you replace those?
I think it's about the same. You check the packaging, but I believe it's 10 years as well.
So really just that one is hard because it's the silent one.
Silent killer.
It's a silent killer. So it's really easy to forget about and yet so vital. And there's lots of homes that are not pre-wired with them. They're generally disposable. Sometimes there'll be combination fire detectors and CO2 detectors, and yet those are generally at the ceiling. And we really want to add additional ones near your head level. Whether you're laying on a couch in the living room, or in the bedroom area, keep those wherever you might be lying down in particular. Because if you're walking around, you're going to feel yourself get sleepy and recognize that there might be something wrong. The bigger concern is when you're actually laying down or watching TV and you fall asleep watching a movie.
Now, another way to help protect against carbon monoxide leak is get your furnace checked every year. They will check the heat exchange to make sure that there's no cracks in it, that the combustion fumes are not coming into the furnace and being blown all over your house. So that's important. I know many people get that done. I know that we get it done every year. And for every one of our rentals as well, because the last thing I want is to ever cause a problem in one of my rental properties. So I make sure that those furnaces are done every year at the beginning of the heating season.
Right. And then the other neat thing when you are taking care of your furnace, just a fringe benefit, is you actually prolong the life of your furnace because you're not letting things accumulate in terms of problems in the furnace and therefore wearing out the appliance sooner than it really ought to wear out. So it also creates longevity in your furnace when you have it serviced annually.
And it tends not to break down on the coldest day of the year then.
Yeah, that's the other good bonus. And there's a few bonuses.
So, number 4 of the 7 is to keep your home enemies away. And when I say home, it's because that's your lifestyle, right? That's your health. It's not just your house, it's your home. So, avoiding trips and falls by removing ice, removing uneven interlock, sometimes shifts in the winter, like re-leveling that so you don't have trip hazards. Making sure railings are good, they're not rotted decks.
And they're secure.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're not rotted and yet a screw is let loose or two, and all of a sudden you have a wobbly handrail, and at first it doesn't seem so bothersome until the one day you grab it and it ain't there anymore. Because it just left with you.
It goes with you.
It goes with you, right?
Yeah.
And
how many people have removed the handrail going down to the basement to get a couch down and then didn't put it back? I mean, we've been guilty at some point, and I've been into many homes where that's missing. So if you see that you have a handrail missing on your basement stairs because you took some furniture down or the previous person took some furniture down, maybe just go to Home Depot or Lowe's or hardware store or get a contractor in to replace that railing. Sometimes it's just sitting in the basement, just needs to be screwed back on.
Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah.
And so that's just a nice thing to be able to keep one of those enemies of a nasty fall, because I have fallen down a stairs even though it's been intact once or twice, and it is like months and months of chiropractic care sometimes. And so we don't want that. Worse yet, a broken leg, or so slips and ice. And we know way too many people that have broken legs and limbs on just a little bit of ice. So just keeping that under control to keep that enemy out of your home is vitally important.
Now, your home might be nicer if you were a millionaire, do you think? It's not really an enemy of your home, but would your home be more comfortable if you had $1 million in assets?
Might be, because you could maintain it better. And it's not so much about the number millionaire. There's really nothing magical about that.
It is. It's sexy. It's wordly sexy, but it's a sexy word because everyone wants to be a millionaire. And so we've created a workshop to help you become a millionaire. We've followed that path. We've written the book, The Wealth Formula, which has helped us go from broken to wealthy in all areas of our life. And so we would love to help you travel the same road if you'd like. So we're doing a millionaire workshop April 18th, and it's 6:30 to 8:30, and you can get tickets at Eventbrite. Just look up Millionaire Workshop.
There you go.
Fun, eh?
Yeah, it is fun, because being on this journey has really not been just for us. It's like us as in Ken and Yetta Decker and our kids and our grandkids. It's really been for us collectively, because we really had no idea And I don't know about you, if there was a time in your life where you had no idea of how to make your money work for you, and instead you simply worked for money.
Yeah, that's what my dad taught me.
Right.
Yep. My dad was if you've read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, my dad was the poor dad, although he worked so hard and had great business acumen. He was able to start businesses, make them successful, and shortly after they got successful, he'd take a holiday and then start over. So when I say a holiday, I mean like a 6-month, I don't want to do anything holiday. I think maybe he'd burn out a little bit. But we had a great lifestyle, but nothing was left because he didn't learn how to make money work hard for him. He worked hard for money. And that's where I got my work ethic. And then I had to read the books with you. We went through that struggle of not having enough money for each month.
Right. There was more month than money. So I prefer more money than month.
Yes.
Much prefer it. And so that's what really this conversation is all about. It's not about amassing, unless that's what you believe you're to do, then certainly you can amass it. But it is really just about having ease when it comes to the finances. Because if you're constantly figuring out how to rob from Peter to pay Paul, or rob from both of them to pay John, so to speak, rob from MasterCard to pay Visa and all that kind of stuff, that is not enjoyable. We were there a couple of decades ago.
That's kind of an enemy of the home as well.
It really is an enemy of the home.
Yeah.
Because it causes you not to be able to maintain it. It causes you not to be able to enjoy it. It absolutely gets in the way of all enjoyment when you're having a hard time making the payments, making the bills paid. And so really this workshop, we call it Millionaire Workshop, and yet really it's just about getting a handle on your money so that you can not have that concern. And that at night and during the day, but at night it seems to be those thoughts start whirling in your head when the money is managing you rather than you managing the money.
That's great. That's well said, Jenna.
Thank you, Ken. So to have harmony in your finances is really what this conversation's about. Ken just thought the word millionaire sounded good.
Yeah, sounds great. And number 5, the pests, the little pestilence, is the squirrels and the raccoons and the mice and the rats and the insects and the, like wasps and spiders and carpenter ants and cockroaches and bed bugs and just skin crawls when I say it. But those little beasties can get into your house.
They can.
And if you don't take care of them fast, they can take care of you. They can chase you out of your home.
Well, they actually do, because they eat your wiring, they eat your insulation, they leave their byproducts all over the space, and it's not pretty. So what we've encouraged you to do and have done ourselves is seal your house. I mean, is it possible to get rid of everything? No, not
we still get those little Asian beetle thingies that fly around.
Even
Can't seem to seal them out.
and yet the more you seal your house, the less that can get in.
Yes.
And so that is huge. I mean, a mouse can get in something the size of a dime. And even though they're little, they can do a whole lot of damage.
They chew, those little rotters.
They do. And then we've had squirrels in our attic.
Yep.
And had to get them taken away.
Put a one-way door on, sealed it all up, and put a one-way door so they can make their way out but can't make their way back in.
Right. So that's a good one to get handled. And really, you can do it yourself or you can hire somebody to do it. And number 6.
Number 6, yeah.
Is vandals.
And burglars. I think of the burglars, with the little masks on.
Yeah, that makes
like
it
the Hamburglar. But really, it's not funny. If you've ever had your home broken into, it's like a violation of your person.
Right.
Because that was your sanctuary, that was your private place, that was your security. And afterward, it's tough. So do some things. Like you could get an alarm. If you're going away, make sure that your snow is removed on your walkways and your driveways. Make sure the mail's picked up, that lights come on and off at different times, different locations. Make it look like you're home. And even better yet, have someone house sit your house. So there is somebody home.
Right. And number 7.
Cold and heat is an enemy of a house.
It is, because if you get too much cold in there, because that furnace breaks on the coldest day of the year and your pipes freeze, ugh. Or if you've got a pipe on an outside wall and there's just not enough insulation around it or enough heat in that area, we built an extra room in one of our houses and stopped the heat from getting to that area as much as it used to, and then all of a sudden we get freezing pipes.
We didn't really build a room. We just put some drywall up.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
just the matter of the drywall stopping the air from getting to the insulation causes the pipe to freeze now when it's really cold. And maybe you have an issue like that in one of your rooms.
And it's not even an old house. So it's really just a matter of knowing where your piping is and then how to make sure you protect for it so that you don't get the freezing. Because worse if it freezes and then it explodes and now you got the water thing that we talked about at the beginning. So you want to make sure that the hot and cold temperatures in your house are like the attic's not too hot.
Well, that's the thing. Like heat. You think heat's not that big of an enemy to your home, but if it's in your attic, if you get too much heat in your attic, that means your shingles are just about on fire and they get destroyed.
They wear out.
Shorten, they curl, you shorten the lifespan of your shingles by having too hot an attic. And that can be caused by poor ventilation or not enough insulation, all kinds of things.
It can.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure there are no enemies of your home. And for a comprehensive list, just reach out to us. We'll give you even more enemies. These are the ones that we thought would be most prevalent to most people that maybe you haven't thought about. Maybe you've thought about 5 of them, but not all 7 of them. And you really want to address every single one of them. And then the most important one right today is April 18th. You want to join us, or maybe you know somebody that ought to be joining us that's thinking of making wealth through investments in real estate, where your money can work for you even while you're sleeping.
Yeah, so
I like that.
The enemy, the financial enemy to your home, we have a workshop that can help you with that. And all you got to do is go to Eventbrite, look up Millionaire Workshop, and register. There is a cost, $27, and included $27 for a family, not per person. $27 for a family, and included in that price is a copy of our book, The Wealth Formula.
So it's an investment, actually, because it's an investment into making
yourself.
great decisions around how to manage your money so that it doesn't manage you.